Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my channel. For the month of October, I will be making some festive Hallowreads videos, which will kind of help get everyone into the spooky spirit. So there's going to be some book reviews and some fun games that I'll be doing, so make sure you stay tuned for those. Today, I will be reviewing Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. So the first part of this video will be a spoiler-free section, and then I'll make sure to include like a warning before I move into the section where there might be some spoilers. So I'm really excited to review this one for you guys. First, I'm going to kind of tell you guys a little bit about what this book is about. So Stalking Jack the Ripper takes place in England in the late 1800s, and it follows 17-year-old Audrey, who was born into this wealthy family, but at night she sneaks out to go to her uncle's forensic lab. And she ends up working on this string of brutally murdered corpses and having to help hunt down Jack the Ripper. And I'll read you guys what it says on the back. The little blurb says, "He murdered women in cold blood. He terrorized an entire city. He taunted those of us who hunted him down. But despite all these horrors, in the end, I could not deny it. I was the girl who loved the Ripper." And that last sentence is really what drew me into this book. I thought that was such a cool concept, not only just like a mystery novel surrounding Jack the Ripper, but the fact that our main character said that she loved the Ripper. I thought that was really cool and definitely made me want to pick this one up for sure. One of the first things I noticed about this book is that the word choices and the tone felt really formal and stuffy to me, but honestly, I think it fits the time period really, really well, and also the setting. So I think that once I got used to the way the writing was, I think it honestly really complemented the story and the time period super, super well. Something else that I thought was really cool that I noticed pretty early on was that all of the chapters started with the location and the date, and they also all had titles, which was really cool, so you could kind of get like a sneak peek kind of at like what to expect. So that was kind of fun. And there's also a lot of period photos throughout this book. So some of them are just of like buildings and people to kind of help you see what the time period was like. And then there's other ones that are a little more disgusting because they're of like dead bodies and things like that. So I'll show you a couple of the gross ones because they're hard to forget. This is the first one that I saw, and it's of them like cutting open a body. Not cute. And then, let's see. Here's another one. This one really got me too. Oop, there we go. There's definitely some interesting pictures in here, and I really think they helped add to like the spooky, creepy mystery element of this. And I think that's what made it perfect for the month of October for me, for sure. Something else that I really loved was that Audrey, our main character, she pushed back a lot against societal norms for women in the 1800s because she was kind of expected to attend all these like tea parties and take like sewing classes and do all these like proper woman things to kind of prepare her for a suitor. But the whole time she's just been really into science, and she's really strong-minded and independent, and her main focus is really trying to help her uncle and Thomas track down who Jack the Ripper is and to stop more people from dying. And I think that's really cool that she stayed really true to herself and kind of pushed back against everything that society was telling her that she should be. I feel like this book was so well written because it really kept me guessing about who Jack was. Each time I thought I figured it out, something new would happen and I would start to think that it was a different person. So I really kept going back and forth between a bunch of different characters until the end when it was kind of revealed to the characters. That's really when I found out who it was too. So I don't know if it's just because I'm not used to reading like mystery novels and I'm not good at figuring it out, or what I really think is that it was just really well written. My favorite character in the book was probably Thomas, who was definitely like an integral part of finding who Jack the Ripper was. And I loved that his main character trait was that he was really, really observant, and he was able to like deduce things about people without even really talking to them, which I thought was really impressive. Like, he could just look at a person, see like what they were wearing, see like a smudge of this, and kind of know what they did or like where they came from. And that's like crazy to me that somebody's that observant. So that was definitely something that I was impressed by throughout the whole story. And he also had like a lot of great banter with Audrey, so I really enjoyed seeing him throughout the novel. Speaking of Audrey and Thomas's relationship, I think that they honestly made a super great team throughout this whole case. And I love that even though when they first met each other, they really didn't get along, they really didn't like each other, you could slowly see that they started to open up to each other and have a lot of chemistry throughout the remainder of the book. I honestly love this book so much, but I think my main emotion throughout it was probably disgust, and not just at those period photos that I showed you, but just the ways that the murder victims were described, like how brutally murdered they were. It was kind of hard to read at times, and like I'd have to like take a minute after reading a scene like that, so definitely be prepared for that. If that's not something you think you can read, I would be wary of those scenes. But even though it was really grotesque in some of those moments, it was still so well written, and I really couldn't put it down aside from that. So it's definitely still worth the read for sure, even if that's not really something that you're into. Alright, so that is the end of our spoiler-free section. So if you haven't read the book yet and you don't want any spoilers, I would stop now and you can go read the book and then come back and watch what else I think about it. So, like I said earlier, my favorite part about this book is that I really had no idea who Jack the Ripper was until the end of the book when everybody else found out. First, I thought it was Thomas just because the blurb on the back said that Audrey loves Jack the Ripper, so I thought he seemed like the perfect candidate. And also at the beginning, he kind of said some things that were a little sketchy. But then I realized that he's kind of too obvious to be the Ripper. And also it says that she loved the Ripper, not that she was in love with the Ripper. So that kind of made me look elsewhere, like kind of toward her family. And so after that, I kind of expected it to be her uncle just because he seemed like the next obvious choice. I mean, he literally has like a forensic lab where he goes in and like cuts bodies and like looks at all that stuff, so he would definitely have the medical skills to kind of do that. But he actually was a suspect in the book, as you guys know, and after he was kind of like arrested and like contained, the murder still happened, so obviously that like knocked him off of everybody's list. Which led me to think about the rest of her family. So that would be her father and her brother. And I kind of wanted it to be her father just because, I don't know, I didn't really like him too much, and he would disappear in like random moments. So it honestly could have been him, especially because he kept his office like so secretive. So I was pretty convinced that it was him for like a good chunk of the book. But even though I wanted it to be her father, I absolutely love that it ended up being her brother Nathaniel, because I think he was like the perfect one. I love that he kind of stayed in the background the whole time. You know, he kind of like stayed under the radar, so like nobody really suspected him. And he even, I think he was the one that created the Knights of Whitechapel and like joined that group and kind of hunt down Jack and kind of make sure he didn't kill other people, which I think was a perfect cover for him. And he also, the only suspicious thing he kind of did was he would ask Audrey, like, new things she learned about the case and all that stuff. So I guess that was kind of a red flag. He was probably trying to keep tabs on, like, how much they all knew about him. But other than that, he kind of stayed in the background, which I thought it was super cool that it ended up being him, for sure. And after realizing it was him, if you kind of think about it, he honestly was, like, the perfect killer, because Audrey kind of explained that he had some different like work training, like he had a medical apprenticeship, so that definitely helped with killing his victims and like removing the specific organs that he wanted. and he also spent some time, I don't know if he was practicing law or something like that, but he knew enough about the law to kind of help him evade being caught. So honestly, he was literally like the perfect character to end up being the killer, for sure. And I know Jack the Ripper is like a real serial killer like in history, so I don't know if this is like how that actually went down. I have no idea. I don't know a lot about it, so maybe it was like obvious to other people reading it if that's how it went down in history, but for somebody that has no clue, it was just really crazy and really cool for me. So, like I said before, I think the way the murder victims were described was absolutely disgusting. Like, especially the woman who was like positioned in a certain way and like missing her reproductive organs. That was like super messed up to me. So, if reading about them made me like feel those disgusting emotions, I couldn't even imagine like doing what Audrey and Thomas do, where they have to actually like be that close to dead bodies and like cut into them and like try to figure out how they died. Like, I could never do that. That sounds terrifying. I actually really, really loved Thomas and Audrey's relationship by the end of this book, so I'm actually really excited to read the next one because it's the same main characters in the next one, Audrey and Thomas. So I'm definitely excited to see how it keeps progressing. But it took me about like 80, 100 pages to really start to see the chemistry between them, because at first they kind of butt heads a lot, but they ended up really making a great forensic team, and I think they really continued to like challenge each other, and they had super great banter, so I really started to enjoy them together. And the scene, I'm not sure how far into the book it was definitely like toward the end of the book, I think. But the scene where, like right after Audrey and Thomas kind of, they didn't get jumped, but like they kind of, these guys came up to them and like held a knife to Audrey's throat and, you know, tried to hold Thomas back. And like after they escaped from all that and that scene in like, I think it was an alley, it gave me like butterflies, like the intense emotion that Thomas was showing, because he was somebody that didn't really show how he was feeling. It was really, really great to see him like let down his walls when he thought he was going to lose Audrey, and like to see how much he really did care about her. That it really did give me butterflies. That was my favorite scene of the book, I think. And then they also like kissed right there, and I just, in my notes for this book, I literally just wrote, oh my gosh, that kiss was amazing. So it was super great. I really loved them together. The last thing I want to talk about is the ending of this book, which was super messed up, but really crazy. I think it was a really great ending to like wrap all this up. The fact that Nathaniel did all of this, he was like killing these women and harvesting organs just to try to bring their dead mother back to life, that I can't even fathom the idea of that. Like, I know when you lose somebody, of course you want the chance to bring them back to life. Like, of course you'd want to be with them again. But to go to, like, these lengths to make it happen, I can't even imagine ever thinking of doing that. And it was, like, so crazy for me to read and, like, consider that concept. Like, I didn't even really know how to process it. Like, I don't know. It's just so insane to me. And also the fact that he made it sound like it wasn't even really for his sake. Like, he wanted to bring the mom back more for Audrey and, like, their father. That was crazy, too. The fact that he kind of convinced himself that he was doing them a favor is really messed up. And I think the icing on the cake for this whole situation is that he ended up killing himself at the end and, like, obviously not successfully bringing the mom back. But that was just, like, I don't know, it was, like, the last crazy thing after another. It just, like, was nonstop. And I could not process what was happening for a while. And yeah, even though the whole ending was really messed up, I think it was very fitting for the story. It definitely fit the vibe of the story, and it was just a, you know, go out with a bang, I guess. And something I really loved within the last few pages was that Audrey's father finally came around to the idea of Audrey being in, like, the science field, and he actually told her that she could go off to this forensic medicine school in Romania. And that just made me so happy that he finally, like, believed in her and was proud of her and realized that that's what she's meant to do. She's not meant to, you know, sew these dresses and go to all these tea parties. Like, she's meant to do what she'd been doing throughout the whole book. Work in forensic medicine, help stop people to stop help serial killers, I guess. But so that really, after all that gross craziness with Nathaniel, it really kind of warmed my heart at the end and left me with like a really good feeling. And also it is a great setup for the next book. The fact that the forensic medicine school is in Romania, because the next book is Hunting Prince Dracula, and you know, vampires, Romania, that's kind of like the thing. So I think it's perfect to set up the next book like that. And I'm definitely excited to pick that one up for sure. So yeah, overall, I really loved this book, way more than I thought I would actually, because I don't really read a lot of mysteries or anything like that. So this was definitely a little different for me. Perfect for October. So I really enjoyed this one. So I definitely highly recommend it to you guys. And if you've already read it or you are going to read it in the future, please come back to this video, leave me a comment letting me know what you think. But those are all of my thoughts on Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. My video for next week, I will be doing a supernatural scavenger hunt, which is basically a fun way for me to recommend books to you guys based on supernatural creatures that are in them. So I'll kind of explain it a little better in that video, but I'm really excited for that. It's kind of like a fun, shorter video for you guys. And please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and also make sure to click the notification bell so you know when I upload new videos. But thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.